Ladies and gentlemen, what a year it was for the Warriors in 2023. From start to finish, the entire season was a roller coaster ride, and speaking frankly, I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, to start this whole gong show, Draymond and Poole lit a spark that sent shockwaves throughout the NBA. Then the Warriors found out that Wiseman's timeline didn't fit in with Steph's. Then Steph got injured. Then Wiggins got injured. Then they traded for an injured GP2. Then Wiggins had a 2-month absence from the team. Then the team went down 0-2 against the Sacramento Kings. Then finally, they got the rugs pulled out from under them by the referees. Sheesh, guys. What a season. At the same time, however, a lot of good stuff happened as well. Klay Thompson became the third player in NBA history to cross 300 trays in a single season. The trio of Steph, Klay, and Poole became the first trio ever to all score over 200 threes. Kuminga showed a tremendous third-year leap, and then Steph Curry put up a Game 7 performance that we'll never forget. There were definitely lots of good that came with the bad, but yet here we are, in the middle of May, watching a Warriors-less playoffs. The question today is, what's next for Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors? First off, I want to talk about that Lakers series really quickly. In a nutshell, to summarize it, Klay and Poole didn't show up. Draymond's friendship with LeBron took out the dog inside him, but despite these shortcomings, had the referees called this series fairly, the Warriors still would have won. Perhaps not Game 6, but they would have won the series, and here's what I mean. People constantly say that the reason Steph Curry doesn't get that many whistles is because he shoots too many threes. Well, take a look at this data that a Warriors fan put together on Reddit. These numbers were taken after Game 5, and the first part is going to show the discrepancies between taking 2-point field goals and free throws. So, Anthony Davis had 29 free throw attempts on 72 2-point field goal attempts. LeBron had 21 free throw attempts on 59 2-point field goal attempts. Here's Schroeder's, here's Reeves, and here's Vanderbilt's. Then here's Curry's. 11 free throw attempts on 58 2-point field goal attempts. The man has one less 2-point field goal attempt than LeBron James, and yet he has the least amount of free throw attempts here. Sheesh, guys. The man has twice as many 2-point field goal attempts as Austin Reeves, but less free throw attempts than him. How in the world does this make any sense? Some of y'all might be saying that it's the type of 2-point field goal attempts. So next off, we'll look at the number of drives per game, since that's highly correlated with getting fouled and getting to the line. So LeBron had 36 total drives, Schroeder had a total of 35 drives, Reeves had 29, and AD had 11. Now, guess how many times Steph Curry drove to the basket between games 1 and 5? 71 times, guys. Steph Curry drove to the basket as much as LeBron and Schroeder combined, and yet he had less free throw attempts than Schroeder. Someone please explain that to me. You know, I understand that the Lakers led the league in free throw attempts during the regular season at 26.6 attempts per game, and that the Warriors were dead last. But the margins really weren't that different. I mean, the Warriors averaged 20.2 free throw attempts during the regular season, and yet when Game 1 rolled around, it was 29 free throws for the Lakers to the Warriors' 6. This was the tail of the tape, guys, and this was the asterisk in the series. I mean, when the free throw disparity was even, like in games 2 and 5, the Warriors not only won, but they blew the Lakers out of the water. The Lakers literally needed like 20 extra free throws per game just to beat the Warriors. But regardless, that's all over now. And the reason why I'm not completely bummed out about this loss is that had the Warriors advanced to the Western Conference Finals, it would have taken them a miracle to get past the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic and his crew look absolutely scary and should be the favorites to win it all. And honestly, I don't think even the referees could bail out the Lakers this time. But anyway, that's a different topic for a different day. The question today is, what's next for Steph Curry and the Warriors? How do they climb back to the top of the mountain and get back into that championship picture? Well, the absolute truth of the matter is, they're not too far off. And in fact, they're really close. I mean, like I said, had the Lakers series been called fair and square, the Warriors would have gone to the Western Conference Finals and would have been one of the last 4 teams standing. But anyway, as we all know, the Warriors aren't playing for anything less than a championship. And with that being said, the million-dollar question today is, what are the roster changes they have to make to ensure they are the last team standing? Well, let's dissect this question a bit. And let's first start off with the untouchables. Steph Curry, Gary Payton II, Andrew Wiggins, and Kevon Looney have all proved themselves over and over again just how valuable they are, and I'm sure that we'll all agree that there's no way they're going anywhere. Next off is Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. Well, Klay just finished the season as the leading three-point scorer of the season. He had multiple 40-point games, one 50-point game, and when Steph Curry was out, he was instrumental in holding down the fort and was a huge reason why the Warriors were able to secure the 6th seed. Let's not be prisoners of the moment here, guys. Klay Thompson had a rough series against the Lakers, but he's staying. Next off, let's talk about Draymond Green. The former Defensive Player of the Year just proved that he's still elite when it comes to defense. Then when it comes to offense, he statistically just had his most efficient season ever. So I don't see Draymond going anywhere either. From here, this is where things get a bit interesting. Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, JaMychal Green, DiVincenzo, Ty Jerome, Anthony Lamb, Patrick Baldwin Jr., Ryan Rollins, and the empty roster spot that came from the retirement of Andre Iguodala. What do the Warriors do here? Before I get into some of the moves the Warriors could make, I just wanted to point out that the Warriors used to have such a good culture last year. I mean, everybody just vibed off each other, and although this didn't show up in the box score, it was huge. 2023, in contrast, was a night and day difference. This chemistry issue is something that has to seriously be considered when constructing next year's roster. The only thing that has to be taken into consideration is the fact that there are no more 2 timelines. There's only one timeline now when it comes to Golden State, and that's Steph Curry's timeline. And the truth of the matter is, the Chef has about 2 or 3 more MVP caliber years left in him. With Curry at the helm of this team, the Warriors could win 1 or 2 more championships, and with that being said, let's take a look at how. First off, they need serviceable big men, and luckily for the Warriors, there are a ton of them out there this offseason. Brook Lopez, Nikola Vucevic, Jakob Poeltl, Naz Reid, Thomas Bryant are just some of the centers out there that can really add an element to the Warriors that they didn't have this year. You might be asking, how can the Warriors afford them though? Well, here's a difficult decision that Joe Lacob might have to pull the trigger on. Jordan Poole looks like a star from time to time, but $28 million is a lot of money for inconsistency. If they could somehow offload his salary and pick up 2 mid-level bigs like Naz Reid and Jakob Poeltl, then sheesh. Then to fill in that guard position left by Poole, Ty Jerome is a 6'5" guard who, although isn't as flashy, just finished the season averaging nearly 50, 40, and 90. To add the cherry on top, he'll be paid near the minimum and will be hungry for a contract. So, in other words, you can expect that he'll be given his best on a nightly basis. Then, when it comes to Kuminga and Moody, the two of them both showed that they're capable of playing winning basketball. I mean, Kuminga did really well in the regular season, and Moody did really well in the playoffs. DiVincenzo will probably be offered too much in the offseason, so I don't think that the Warriors could keep him. Then when it comes to Lamb, Moody will probably absorb all of his minutes, so unfortunately, Lamb will be out of the roster. JaMychal Green will be out too if the Warriors did acquire Naz Reid. Moving on here, Patrick Baldwin Jr. and Ryan Rollins could be the 2 players the Warriors send to play in their G League affiliate for development and come in sparingly if the situation calls for it. I mean, PBJ is a 6'10" power forward with a smooth shooting stroke, so depending on his development, he could come in and provide some size, shooting, and rebounding. Then, if the Warriors need another ball handler, they could insert Ryan Rollins in and see how he performs. So, as of now, let's take a look at the roster. Steph, Klay, Draymond, Wiggins, and Looney will be the starting 5. Then coming off the bench, you have Ty Jerome, GP2, Kuminga, Moody, Naz Reid, and Jakob Poeltl. then that's currently 13 spots. Then to get back the chemistry that was there in 2022, they could re-sign JTA and Damian Lee, both on minimum contracts, to get back the energy, and that, ladies and gentlemen, completes the 15-man roster. With this roster, the Warriors will have every position filled out from 1 to 5. Then from there, Steve Kerr should also bring in a defensive-minded coach, and who better to teach that than Frank Vogel, who also happens to be one of the few coaches out there who's won a championship. Man, the Warriors are really close to becoming an absolute juggernaut of a team again. And when next year rolls around, if their front office executes properly this offseason, then I don't see even the referees being able to stop this team. Next year, Curry will win his 5th ring, LeBron will continue flopping, and somewhere out there in China, Dylan Brooks will still be building his dynasty.